Show. I'm Emily Shields, and joining me to talk about this debate this evening, we have Professor Denzel Williams, Executive Director, Mona School of Business, Professor Rosalie Hamilton, Founding Director, Institute of Law and Economics, Dr. Damian King, Executive Director, Caribbean Policy Research Institute, Capri, and Senior Lecturer in Economics at UWI Mona. Also, Jermaine Spencer, political economist. So good to have all of you. They join me by Zoom this evening in this new COVID era. So in the debates this evening, we're talking economy and finance. And we have Dr. Nigel Clark and Mark Golding, who will square off in what is supposed to be a heavyweight showdown. We're going to go to our panelists just to find out what their expectations are for this evening. So let me begin with you, Professor Rosalie Hamilton. A lot of things emerging recently. We had a revision of the forecast by the Bank of Jamaica governor. Contraction of the economy between 7 and 10% now expected. Your thoughts, your expectations of the issues that will confront the debaters this evening. Professor Hamilton, I think we may have lost you for a second. Your thoughts on what you expect to be coming out of the debate this evening?
I'm having some internet issues here. Can you hear me?
Very well, thank you. And you look lovely.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Well, we've seen a lot of very impressive recommendations in the manifestos. And I think, like many Jamaicans, we want to know how it will be paid for. So I think I'm listening out carefully to how we will fill the gap with respect to the loss of foreign exchange, how we will develop this capacity very quickly in the short term to be able to export products and services as well. But importantly, to make sure that we don't worsen this balance of payments problem we have. We've seen the dollar moving. We can solve this in the long run if we can ultimately earn our way. So I'll be looking specifically at that, this short-term strategy, the ramping up of our capacity to go global, right. To get into different markets, establish relationships, and of course the longer-term strategy that are definitely connected to our education system.
Dr. Damian King?
I think that we are fortunate because this is unique in the history of electoral debates in Jamaica. We're accustomed to having debates on finance and on economics amongst politicians. Mm-hmm. This is the first time in the history of election debates that we have two persons, neither of whom are career politicians, and both of whom actually have the background and the experience to address these issues in a serious way. Mm-hmm. With Nigel Clark being a former chief operating officer of a huge conglomerate, mm-hmm. Mark Golding, a founder and former director of what has become Scotia Investments. So I think we can actually look forward to less of the theater of electoral debates. There will be some of that because they are politicians now, after mm-hmm. all. Less of the theater and more substance and, frankly, a more intelligent discussion.
Professor Denzel Williams. All right, let's just fix your sound. I'm not hearing you at the moment. Just do a sound check and let's see if we can fix that in just a moment. Can I just say, Jermaine, let's lose the headphone for a moment and go back to where you were before we started. So this is one of the issues that we have when we try to do the discussions in Zoom, but so it is. We ask you to bear with us, listeners, viewers. Let me hear you now, Professor Williams. Can you hear me?
You're getting me now?
Yes, I'm hearing you now. And just move back a little so I can see all of your head. Your forehead is being cut off. All right, great. Yes. Your expectations.
Yes. As I said, in addition to what my two other colleagues have said, what I would be looking out for is how are we going to get back people into jobs? That is going to be key. We need to get more people back to work in this environment. So what we want to hear from these two debaters tonight is how are they going to stimulate the economy despite the troublesome nature of this virus? We don't know when it is going to end, but we still have to get back people to work. So we need to find out how is it that we're going to get back people to have a paycheck and can continue with their lives, and then we can think about the long-term issues of growth and development. But we need immediately as to how we're going to get people to get cash in their hands and how we're going to get people back to work.
Jermaine Spencer.
Good night, everybody. This debate has the potential, in my mind, to sort of focus collectively the society's focus on what a COVID economy is going to look like. And some people have already gone on to say the post-COVID economy. But we have to look at how are we going to finance the big expenditure items which are going to clearly now involve public health. And it's also going to involve sanitation issues which have become huge on the campaign trail. Below all of those issues, of course, is the manifesto promises.
Yes.
I am not one of those persons who is looking for that sort of accounting exercise where both speakers are going to go through in a sort of detailed way how it is they're going to finance each and every proposal in those manifestos. Rather, what I am looking for is a sort of overarching policy guidance to society as what is the pathway that we want, that is they're proposing that we are going to tackle both the COVID reality, that is the disease itself, and the economic realities that flow from that disease.
Dr. Damien King, are you looking for the details on the financing of these lofty ideas in the manifestos that have been put out?
Well, I would like to be able to look forward to that. I don't think there is a hope in any scenario that we are going to get that. Indeed, one question that I would like one of the questioners to ask is simply, have you added up the total cost of everything in your manifesto? Have you even added it up, and what is that number?
Yes. Have you done that, Dr. King?
No, I haven't. It would take all day because there are a lot of things in there.
Yeah, but they really should add it up and give us the total and tell us how it is that it is going to be financed. Professor Rosalie Hamilton, you were chuckling.
Yeah, I was beyond the specifics though. I do think what is important is a strategy to ramp up, to fill the gap. We've lost a lot of revenue from the tourist industry and all the related industries. Now we have to ramp up, and I think the issue of foreign exchange is critical because we're beginning to see that movement. Things are getting more expensive, the pressures are building. And so it's the agility of those economic actors who are innovative, creative. We need to get them up and running. We need to protect them as best we can, many of them in the MSME sector. And we need to help them to access global markets. I think that's very important. And we have the technology, the Internet of Framework and so on to help us with that. And I think that's what I'm looking for. What's the strategy? We talk about the digital economy, but what about the digital skills that we can get free access to right now that will help us to maneuver the technologies to get into these markets very quickly? And then we can talk about the longer term issues with respect to what we need to do to restructure and to get back better and stronger.
All right, let's go to a break. Stay with us. This is the pre-debate discussion right here on TVJ. When we come back, we'll tell you the yardstick we're going to be using to measure the debaters this evening and see how the panelists feel about whether it's going to be more about content over style or style over content. Stay with us, please.
Reduce your risk of viral illnesses like the flu and coronavirus. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water. Cover your nose and mouth when coughing with a tissue and dispose of it. Avoid close contact with anyone with a cold or flu-like symptoms. If you become ill, please visit your doctor or the nearest health center and share your travel history. The flu and coronavirus can kill. Let's protect each other. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
The national debates have started.
Let us continue with the work that the Jamaica Labour Party under Andrew Holness has been doing over the past 4.5 years.
The PNP has always been the party that has perennially taken Jamaica out of periods of adversity, and will do it again.
Which party will earn your vote to form the next government? Join Emily Shields on TVJ's pre- and post-debate show Thursday and Saturday at 8:30 before the debates and again at 10:30 for a post-debate analysis. That's TVJ's pre- and post-debate show this Thursday and Saturday at 8:30 p.m.
The date is set.
The general elections for the year 2020 is therefore Thursday, September the 3rd, 2020.
Even with the COVID-19 pandemic, TVJ News has every beat covered. Join us for Decision 2020.
This team is ready to rescue Jamaica.
We are going to create the new Jamaica.
Decision 2020. Comprehensive election coverage. Weeknights in primetime news and our special election program. TVJ News, keeping you informed.
The national debates have started.
Let us continue with the work that the Jamaica Labour Party under Andrew Holness has been doing over the past 4.5 years.
The PNP has always been the party that has perennially taken Jamaica out of periods of adversity, and will do it again.
Which party will earn your vote to form the next government? Join Emily Shields on TVJ's pre- and post-debate show Thursday and Saturday at 8:30 before the debates and again at 10:30 for a post-debate analysis. That's TVJ's pre- and post-debate show this Thursday and Saturday at 8:30 p.m.
Reduce your risk of viral illnesses like the flu and coronavirus. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water. Cover your nose and
for the pre-debate analysis right here on TVJ. We thank so much for rejoining us, our panelists, Professor Rosalia Hamilton, Dr. Damian King, Jermaine Spencer, and Professor Denzel Williams. So we just have about 15 minutes to go before the start of this. I'll tell you, viewers, that we have, there's a yardstick that we're going to be using to get an assessment in the post-debate of how the debaters have done. And you can make your own measurements at home based on this. So I'm going to be asking my panelists to look at each question, the content, analysis and argument, organization of presentation, policy differences between the debaters, and style. Out of 10, we want to mark each question, and if they didn't answer the question, I know that my panelists will tell me they didn't answer. And we're going to ask you as well to help us. Our team will be doing some fact-checking, limited, because these things require a full team behind the scenes doing that. But in due time, we'll be able to have that for you. We're back with you, ladies and gentlemen. So let's just look at how different would one expect the style of these two debaters to be. I think we've seen them long enough politically. First, Mark Golding coming through the Senate, now in the lower house, and then we have seen Dr. Nigel Clark coming in the Senate. They have interesting and sort of different style. Tell me what impact you think their style will have on the presentation this evening. Jermaine Spencer, if you watch these two men in their presentations in the House. I'm not hearing your sound.
Oh, I'm sorry. I started speaking without unmuting myself.
That's fine.
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, style.
All right, so Dr. Clark has a tendency to be quite scholarly and academic. For this kind of debate, the challenge, I guess, for him is actually to keep it alive. But the beauty about being scholarly and academic is that you tend to be heavy on details, and that's his strong suit. Mr. Golding, on the other hand, being, I guess, a trained attorney, has more of he knows how to play to a gallery. The problem with playing to a gallery is that you can become a little bit light on details. Having said that, though, Mark Golding is not someone who you accuse of being light on details at all. In fact, if anything, he can actually get quite detailed. So the issue, I think, for this debate when it comes on to style is to not let people drop asleep if it becomes too technical or too theoretic in terms of the content.
Right. Your thoughts, Dr. Damian King? Style.
Well, I would actually rather not focus on the style, the presenters, because I think that the people watching the debate can kind of judge that for themselves.
Yeah.
I prefer if people with the background that we have actually focus on the content and the underlying soundness of what is going to may get hidden behind the style and the theater.
Right. So we'll pay heavy weather on content, analysis and argument, and not even so much on organization and presentation, because those can be part of style as well. Yeah?
Right.
That's what you'd prefer. Professor Hamilton?
I agree with that. I think we can put style and organization and presentation together. I definitely think more weight on the analysis, the content, the policies that will flow from all of this. I mean, I think Jamaicans are listening keenly because we understand the economic impact is real. And so people are looking for answers.
Right. Professor Williams?
Yes, I would support that, but I would also add the clarity of thought. We are in a debate and we need them to come across very clearly about what they're communicating to the nation so that we can better understand and we can better judge. So clarity of thought is going to be important. I would also say, though, that style is important in this context of a debate like this, because you really need to keep people alive. You need to keep them watching, you need to see, get them interested in this kind of thing. So stylistics is also important, but heavily I would weight content, clarity of thought, and analysis.
I trust that all of you have seen the debate that went on social issues and other debates before. Have you any concern that the guidelines for the debate might prove a bit restrictive for the answer, the individual to be stopped to say that you're not answering the question, and they can go on for 90 seconds without answering, and then very limited scope for follow-up? Any concerns about that format at all, Dr. Damian King?
No, I think you have to have structure to these debates to make it navigable. So I think that's fine.
Yeah. What about you, Prof?
Yeah, I think so, but also some flexibility will help. I mean, if there's an important point being made, I think there needs to be some room for, to continue the thought and to clarify. So with some flexibility, yeah, I don't have a problem with the rules.
Right. So we're going to go to the final break, then the final segment before the debate. It's on economy and finance. Stay with us. This is a TVJ pre-debate discussion. A matter of minutes to go now before the big showdown between two heavyweight debaters. Some people actually believe that this is the debate of the trifecta for this election coming up the 3rd of September, which is next week, Thursday. As you know, Mark Golding, opposition spokesman on finance, goes up against Dr. Nigel Clark, the finance minister. Well, you can see on the screen at the moment, the countdown to the clock at CPTC is right on the screen. I'm just coming back to my guests, Professor Rosalie Hamilton, Dr. Damian King, Professor Denzel Williams, and Jermaine Spencer. Can these debaters at all fluff it out in a way that some of the social issues were fluffed out on Tuesday night, Jermaine Spencer, you think?
No, because Dr. King will troll them on Twitter. So I don't think anybody is going to get to fluff it out at all on this. Plus, at the end of the day, this is real issues. This is bread and butter issues. So at the end of when you look at it, the room for fluff was 2 nights ago. Tonight is now the meat of the matter.
Right.
One of the things I find interesting about this election is that you get elected in Jamaica by making big ticket irresponsible promises. Like how in 2007, big ticket irresponsible promise was free education. This when we were already highly indebted, and couldn't service our debt. In 2011, the big ticket one was taking GCT off of electricity. Mm-hmm. In the last election, the big ticket was the 1.5 promise. You get elected in Jamaica by promising fiscal irresponsibility in a big way. There's really an absence of that this time. It's a whole bunch of little things. So it'll be interesting to see how these two gentlemen are able to bring some coherence in a way that the audience, who most have not read the manifestos, can sort of have something to hang on to.
Right. Let's go over to them for us to hang on to something. Thank you so much, Professor Denzel Williams, Professor Rosalie Hamilton, Dr. Damian King, Jermaine Spencer. Come back with us right after the debate for the post-debate discussion.
Taking and presenting questions from the public is our social media editor, Major Gordon. I'm your moderator, Damian Mitchell. The guidelines for tonight's debates have been previously agreed and are posted on the Debate Commission's website at www.jamaicadebatescommission.org. The guidelines include questions being no longer than 30 seconds. Each debater will have a maximum of 90 seconds to answer the question posed to him. Each debater will be allowed a maximum of 45 seconds to rebut the answer given by the other debater. The moderator will have the latitude to raise follow-up questions for clarification only. Questioners will be allowed a follow-up question to their primary question only on 2 occasions during the entire debate. Follow-up questions will be permitted at the discretion of the moderator. Where a follow-up question is asked, the debater shall have 30 seconds to provide the answer. Where a follow-up question is asked, it shall not interrupt the sequence of questions posed to the respective debaters. The questions posed in tonight's debate are created solely by the panel of journalists and are not influenced by the Jamaica Debates Commission in any way. Arising from the result of an earlier coin toss, the PNP have the first opening statement, followed by the JLP. For the closing statement, the PNP will go first, and the JLP will make the final statement. And now, the 2-minute opening statement from Mr. Mark Golding of the PNP.
In 2011, Jamaica was faced with a serious crisis. 3 years of consecutive negative growth, an IMF agreement that was on the rocks, the West Kingston incursion and the damage to Jamaica's international reputation, and indeed, the Prime Minister of the day resigned under a cloud. At that time, the Jamaican people turned to the People's National Party. We responded, and we turned the country around. We restored the international reputation of Jamaica. We returned the country to a path of growth. Unemployment was coming down. Poverty was coming down. Indeed, by 2015, the Jamaica Stock Exchange was ranked as the #1 performing stock market in the world for the first time ever. The architect of that economic recovery, internationally recognized as such, was Dr. Peter Phillips, the then Minister of Finance and Planning. And he was awarded Man of the Year in 2015 in recognition of the incredible job he had done The JLP inherited a situation which was well poised for growth. Indeed, they promised us 5% growth in 4 years. Nigel, at the beginning of 2019, said the economy would be bubbling up. Unfortunately, Nigel, that soft drink was flat, and we have seen no growth in the last 12 months.
Thank you, Mr. Golding. And now let's hear the 2-minute opening statement from Dr. Nigel Clark of the JLP.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator and panelists. Thanks to the Debates Commission and the sponsors who made this possible. Thanks to my opponent, Mr. Golding, for participating. And most of all, thanks to you, my fellow Jamaicans here and abroad, for your engagement and support. Over the past 4 years, under the strong leadership of Prime Minister Andrew Holness, a new Jamaica has emerged. A Jamaica characterized by increasing opportunities for individuals, for families, and for businesses, with an unprecedented level of record achievements. Over 100,000 new jobs were created as unemployment fell to record lows. Poverty fell by 40% to the lowest level in 10 years. And every opportunity we had, we reduced your taxes. We reduced your personal income taxes. We gave back GCT. We abolished and got rid of other burdensome taxation. Even in the face of the worst pandemic in 100 years, your taxes did not go up. They went down. At the same time, we provided more money for the vulnerable, more money for our students, and more money to strengthen the social safety net. We built more houses, we fixed more roads, we provided more investment, we broadened opportunity. And when the pandemic came, we were ready. Over 440,000 Jamaicans received direct cash grants from the government. We were able to deploy $87 billion of cash that we had patiently accumulated to cushion the effect on government revenues. We now face the greatest crisis of our lifetimes. We have delivered, and we are best prepared to lead Jamaica to a strong recovery. I invite you to join us as we work together to build Jamaica, recovering even stronger than before.
Thank you, Dr. Clark. Our first question tonight comes from Dashan Hendricks from Television Jamaica, and it will be directed to Mark Golding of the People's National Party.
Good afternoon, Mr. Golding. The PNP in its manifesto outlined giving per household 48,000. Well, yesterday it was per household. Today it's 370,000 households. But $48,000 for them works out at about $26 to $30 billion. Yesterday, today it's about $18 billion. Clearly outlined to Jamaica how the PNP plan to fund this program in a time when we expect revenues to be falling given the effect COVID is having on the economy.
Our package of measures in our manifesto have been costed carefully by us. And we have looked at the budget and the way the budget is constructed with basically an 800 billion expenditure budget, of which roughly 280 billion is discretionary spending. 500 plus is wages, salaries, interest, non-discretionary expenditure. We have said we will prioritize the people and the people's agenda, putting people in the center of development, and we have costed our plan at roughly a little less than 30% of the discretionary elements in the budget, the discretionary component of the budget. Some of that will be paid for through the consolidated fund, some will be paid for through public bodies that have surpluses that are available for that. We do not intend to levy any new taxes. Jamaica is in a deep recession. We're in a crisis at this time, and we cannot impose taxes on the people at this time because it would be counterproductive, the objective being to return the country towards positive growth. We will be looking at our projects and programs. Some will be scaled back, the ones that we don't choose to prioritize, so that we can prioritize our agenda, our people's agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Golding. Dr. Clark, your rebuttal?
It is simply not credible. It misses the mark, and it is a big bag of tricks. the resources, when you look at their proposal, easily, over 5 years, it would easily cost $100 billion just from a few items. The resources of government come from you, the people. When they were last in office for 4 years, they levied $53 billion of taxes, and that is the only way for them to finance this. When they're finished taxing the Jamaican people to finance their $100 billion of expenditure, all of Jamaicans will be left with a little bit of money. He talks about being architect of recovery. If Peter Phillips has anything to do with it, he's the architect of destruction.
Thank you very much, Dr. Clark. Dashan has indicated that he has a follow-up for Mr. Golding.
Just to get a little bit more on the paying of water, the $40,000 for water and electricity, how does this address the fundamental issues of cost and supply of utilities, electricity and water, which if we can get them down, the consumers won't need to get the grant from the government?
This is a measure that takes into account where we are now in a deep crisis. The Bank of Jamaica, yesterday I believe it was, announced that in their view the economy is going to contract by 7 to 10%. Hundreds of thousands of persons are out of work. Hotel workers are out of work. Sugar workers are out of work. Many firms have laid off workers. People are feeling the crunch, and it's going to get worse. This measure is designed to ensure that there's an opportunity.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Mr. Golding. Okay. Our next question goes to Dr. Clark. It comes from Kalila Reynolds of Nationwide News Network.
Thank you very much. Dr. Clark, you just criticized very strongly your opponent's plans. Your manifesto, the JLP's manifesto, also includes billions of dollars in grants and support packages, tens of billions of dollars. What is the total cost of the promises in your manifesto, and how does the Jamaica Labour Party intend to pay for them if re-elected?
Thank you for that question, Kalila. The central piece of the Jamaica Labour Party manifesto is its 10-point recovery plan. And the 10-point recovery plan does introduce new central government expenditure. That comes in two parts. There's a capital expenditure component and recurrent expenditure. The capital expenditure, where we have greater discretion, accounts for about $25 billion of new capital expenditure that's not programmed. And that would cover 6 new science and engineering and technology academies, a new performing art academy, making our town centers, putting infrastructure for Wi-Fi, and also, 1 or 2 other pieces of capital expenditure. As far as recurrent expenditure is concerned, new central government recurrent expenditures not yet accommodated for, we're talking about approximately $5 billion. And that $5 billion covers the cost of operationalizing the free Wi-Fi. This is free Wi-Fi in town centers, operationalizing our daycare center proposal, as well as the grants for that are not yet programmed, of which $500 million for communities, $2 billion out of the 3 for fisher folk. The rest have been accounted for already.
Thank you, Dr. Clark. Mr. Golding, your rebuttal.
The Jamaica Labour Party's programs will cost billions of dollars. They have not credibly answered that question as to how they would finance it. Reality is that we're in a very difficult time, and there needs to be some measures that will take Jamaica out of the problem. The quality living plan that we have to provide $3,000 of relief for persons up to 360,000 households, and $1,000 of water bill relief will be paid for out of the existing budget, reallocating funding, deferring some programs that we don't consider to be priorities, and giving a stimulus package that will help the economy rebound from the recession that we're in.
Thank you, Mr. Golding. We go now to Marjorie Gordon with a question from social media.
Thanks, Damien. Now, Trudy Ann Campbell on Facebook, she wants to know, if you form the next government, how does your party plan to grow the economy in light of the challenges of COVID-19?
Mr. Golding, that question is for you.
In our manifesto, we have a series of programs that are designed to turn the economy around from the recession that it's in. We're focusing on housing, construction, affordable housing. We are also interested in agriculture. We want to promote agriculture much more. We feel agriculture must be, and rural development must be a centerpiece of any recovery. There's global logistics and global outsourcing as a third leg of the economy, and manufacturing as well. Those are the sectors that we feel we need to be focused on in the near term to turn the economy around. In terms of stimulus, the housing projects will create job opportunities for construction workers, and we plan to train many more and certify many more persons to participate in the construction of those houses. We have a grant that we plan to give people who are living in deplorable housing conditions, up to 10,000 persons per year, 400,000 each, would cost $4 billion, and that will enable them to achieve some dignity in their living space. Persons whose roofs are leaking, they don't have bathrooms, they have to share, and so on. This is a part of building the dignity of our people, and it will stimulate local economies, because that money will be spent with local tradesmen in the communities and hardwares in the community. We have a special grant for teachers, because there's going to have to be teaching from home, and they need to configure their homes so that they're able to deliver lessons from home.
Thank you very much, Mr. Golding. Dr. Clark, you have 90 seconds to respond.
Trudian, thank you for that question. You, Trudian, want a government that you can trust to focus on recovering in the quickest possible time and recovering stronger than before. We have a plan to grow the economy and to recover. And our plan begins with maintaining macroeconomic stability during these turbulent times. We will provide financial support. We will diversify the economy and strengthen the business environment. We will strengthen the social safety net, while at the same time mobilizing private sector investment, as government revenues will not be sufficient to carry the economy. We will invest in health and health infrastructure as we invest in education. We will work to accelerate the digitization of our society, and we will work to accelerate financial inclusion and at the same time launch a revolution in land and housing. When you put this together as a combination, we believe it offers the best opportunity to recover from this crisis and to recover stronger. And at this point in time, it is ever so important that Jamaica is served by a sober government, a government that thinks through what it plans to do and costs it properly. And that's going to maintain the hard-earned stability that we have worked for.
Thank you very much, Dr. Clark. We'll now take a short break and invite you to stay tuned. Welcome back to the second in a series of 3 political debates being facilitated by the Jamaica Debates Commission, a partnership of the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce and Media Association Jamaica. If you're just joining us, welcome. We now invite Dashan Hendricks to start this segment with a question for Dr. Nigel Clark of the JLP.
Dr. Clark, now your manifesto indicated that it will introduce performance pay for public sector workers, starting with permanent secretaries and other public sector leaders. Now, how will this performance pay work, and will it be extended to ministers?
Thank you, Dashan. The government formed by the Jamaica Labour Party is committed to working to reform our public sector and to provide the best opportunities for the leaders in the public sector to shine, to achieve, and to earn. We have been in discussions and consultations with permanent secretaries enabled by the transformation, the Public Sector Transformation Implementation Unit, and those discussions are far advanced. In our next term, we will be finalizing, with the consent of permanent secretaries, the introduction of performance pay, which will allow permanent secretaries to earn extra based on performance. Once we have successfully done that, we will expand to other layers in the public service. With respect to your question on ministers, it's entirely possible that that could also include ministers. Traditionally, ministers have been, their pay has been linked to the pay of permanent secretaries. So it would stand to reason and stand to order that ministers would partake as well. But the discussions have not yet involved ministers, but we are certainly open to that.
Thank you, Dr. Clark. Mr. Golding, your rebuttal.
There's no doubt that we need to increase the efficiency in the public sector, and performance-based pay is something that we should be pursued. In terms of the ministers, I don't know how we can really attach any credibility to what Nigel is saying. Andrew Holness had said back in 2016 that ministers would have job descriptions. That has not happened. He said there'd be fixed election dates. That has not happened. He said there would be impeachment of public officials who behave badly, illegally, and defraud the public. That has not happened. He said there'd be a big referendum to decide issues like ganja legalization, buggery, and so on. That has not happened.
Thank you, Mr. Golding. And now, Kalila Reynolds of Nationwide to Dr. Nigel Clark.
Dr. Clark, the Jamaican dollar has now passed 150 to $1 US, depreciating 12% since the first COVID case in March. What is the government doing about this?
Kalila, thank you for that question, because I know it's on the hearts and minds of many Jamaicans. The Jamaica Labour Party is committed to the maintenance of macroeconomic stability. Indeed, the maintenance of macroeconomic stability forms the first plank of our recovery plan. And macroeconomic stability entails the maintenance of low, stable, and predictable inflation. I want to reassure Jamaicans that your central bank has $3.7 billion of gross reserves, which is more gross reserves in the middle of a pandemic than we have ever had in our history. In addition, we have not in addition to 3.7, but we have $2.8 billion of net international reserves, which represent today more by way of imports of goods and services than we have ever had. The goods and services that what we have today represents is more than 70% higher than when we entered office. In addition, our non-borrowed reserves are greater by a factor of approximately 70% than when we entered office. The governor of the central bank has committed to achieving inflation targets, and yesterday made it clear that he's prepared to take steps that are necessary in the exchange rate market to do so if necessary.
Thank you, Dr. Clark. Mr. Golding, your rebuttal, 45 seconds.
The Jamaican dollar has devalued by over 14% since the beginning of 2020. It has added over $150 billion to the national debt because nearly 2/3 of the debt is denominated in foreign currency. The reserves have fallen quite precipitously in the last few months by over $400 million US. With the dollar sliding the way it has, it affects people in their pockets. Prices are going up, hardship is on the land. Nigel, the housewives are calling you Mr. 150 to 1 because it's under your watch that you've allowed this to happen. We believe the foreign exchange market needs tighter regulation and a different structure to ensure the productive sector get foreign exchange that they need.
Thank you, Mr. Golding. Kalila Reynolds has indicated that she has a follow-up question to Dr. Clark.
In your response, Dr. Clark, I heard you emphasize that we have enough foreign reserves to weather this storm, and that was indicated by the BOJ Governor Biles as well. But I didn't hear you indicate what the plan was to do about the dollar at 150 to 1, if there is a plan. So do you intend to do anything about it, or do you think it's enough to have those reserves as a buffer?
The central bank governor made it clear yesterday that he is prepared to do what is necessary using all the resources available to him, which include the reserves, to ensure that the exchange rate does not interfere with inflation objectives that have been set for the central bank. And those inflation objectives are to achieve an inflation target of no more than 4 to 6%. The currency has depreciated by 3% per annum since we entered office to the pre-COVID era, and 5% per annum.
Thank you, Dr. Clark. Let's now go to Marjorie Gordon in the social media unit for a question from social media. Marjorie?
Okay, what's being asked, this question is from the diaspora. It says, what incentives, if any, are being contemplated to encourage members of the diaspora to invest in Jamaica?
That question goes to you, Dr. Clark.
Thank you for that question. The diaspora is of central importance to the government of Jamaica, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has been quite active in cultivating the diaspora over the last 4 years. We've had very successful diaspora conferences that have resulted in investment and where investment has been promoted. We plan under the next JLP administration to form a transparent and accessible Government of Jamaica land bank where all the lands that are available for investment by persons living in Jamaica and Jamaicans living overseas can be transparently viewed, and where persons can make investment decisions. We plan to ensure that we provide an environment that is conducive not only to institutional investors, but to retail investors here and abroad. Indeed, we have broadened the retail investor market by bringing into fruition the listing of state assets in which 30,000 Jamaicans participated when Wigton Wind Farm went public, and 35,000 participated when the Trans-Jamaica Highway went public. Many of those were persons from the diaspora. Observing securities laws that are prevalent or that exist in overseas markets, we plan to continue to market opportunities, or at least have diaspora members be aware of investment opportunities in Jamaica.
Thank you, Dr. Clark. Mr. Golding, you have 90 seconds for your response.
The diaspora have supported Jamaica over the years. Our remittance levels have kept up since the COVID crisis, and we must big up and thank our Jamaicans abroad for continuing to support our country, their families here. The best thing we can do is to create a safe and secure Jamaica that the diaspora residents will feel comfortable to come back here, buy property, invest in businesses. This government has adopted an approach of social control through repressive measures, states of emergency, locking up people without charge, ZOSOs. We believe in putting the people in the middle and center of development, investing in our people, uplifting them, not repressing them. If we do that successfully and we bring down crime, we will be able to attract more of our diaspora people to come in here and invest. The crime murder rate under the last PNP government was significantly lower than it has been under this government. Despite all the states of emergency and repressive measures, the murder rate is significantly higher each year than where we left it. The diaspora will not feel comfortable in an environment where they're not safe. Until we address that issue, we're going nowhere. The People's National Party puts people in the center of development. We believe in social investment in our people to uplift our people, not repress them.
Thank you, Mr. Golding. And now, Dashan Hendricks of Television Jamaica to Mr. Mark Golding of the PNP.
Mr. Golding, given the COVID-19 pandemic and the accompanying economic recession, it may be difficult to fund all the promises your party has made in the manifesto. Now, which projects would be prioritized if your party should form the government, the next government, and why?
We will have to phase, given the economic realities that the country is faced with, we will have to phase the implementation of the pledges that we have made in a way that makes sense. The ones that we would like to front end are the ones that will stimulate the economy and also strengthen the social safety net. So, for example, the quality living package, which would give 360,000 households a credit of $3,000 on their light bill and $1,000 on their water bill. Over 1 million people would benefit from that. That would be something that we would prioritize. The housing allowance for up to 10,000 persons per year who are living in dilapidated housing, we would prioritize that. Both of those would stimulate the economy and improve the lives of the people, especially the most vulnerable. The grant to help teachers to reconfigure their homes to teach from home, we will prioritize that. That's another important measure. And the increasing of the PATH program, the benefits on the PATH by 50%, that will stimulate the economy and strengthen the safety net. Those are the measures that we want to bring forward. And of course, bringing the internet to the people, because what has happened is so many of our school children, probably more than half, have been without education since COVID. because they can't attend school, and many of them don't have access to the internet, so they can't participate in learning via the internet. We plan to put hotspots.
Thank you very much, Mr. Golding. Let's have Dr. Clark rebut.
Mark, I know you're 16 points behind in the poll, but there's no need for this desperate attempt that has the potential of wrecking the country. I don't know what to actually respond to, whether to respond to the plan released on Monday, or the one released on Wednesday, or the one that Damien spoke about on the radio, or the one at the press conference, because it keeps on changing. There's a 2 o'clock p.m. plan, a 6 o'clock p.m. plan, and different people are saying different things. Frankly speaking, I don't think you know what the plan is, and that the people of Jamaica need a government they can trust to take us through the most difficult crisis in our lifetime, a sober government.
Thank you very much, Dr. Clark. Let's have a follow-up question from Dashon to Mr. Golding.
Just quickly, how much will your plan cost in total?
We have costed it in total roughly $70 billion, of which a little over 15 billion would be absorbed in the public bodies, and about just over 50 billion would be on the consolidated fund. The biggest item in that is $22 billion for the universal health insurance. We don't anticipate that will be capable of being rolled out for a couple of years because it requires legislation and administrative development, but it is part of what we want to achieve. So overall, it's a $70 billion package to be phased appropriately.
Thank you very much, Mr. Golding. Now, Kalila Reynolds has a question for you, Mr. Mark Golding.
Mr. Golding, the Jamaica Labour Party's stated tax policy is to move from direct to indirect taxes, and as such, they've implemented the 1.5 plan following the 2016 election. What is the PNP's tax policy, and would you roll back the 1.5?
We believe in equity in the tax system. We believe that the tax system should be such that persons who can bear should bear. We would not be rolling back the 1.5. That is water under the bridge. It was introduced under false pretenses, and Nigel is aware of this because the public was told that it wouldn't cost anything to introduce it. We said it was going to cost approximately $30 billion, and indeed, the JLP levied $30 billion of indirect taxes on the backs of the people in order to pay for that 1.5. We wouldn't be troubling it at this stage because it is established and it's part of the tax law and people are used to it. What we like to do is bring down the tax rates through growing the economy. And as we grow the economy, we generate more revenues, lower the tax rates across the board. Lower the GCT as we did when we were in government, lower the corporate tax rate as we did when we were in government. When we were in government, despite the hardship of the IMF program that we were delivering on, we were able to reduce general corporate tax rate from 33.3% to 25%. We reduced GCT from 17.5% to 16.5%. At the same time, delivering on the IMF program. We would like to take those rates lower as and when the country can afford it. There is one thing that we think is inequitable, which is the fuel tax that was imposed to pay for the 1.5. There was a hedge, an arrangement to insure the country against oil price spikes. That tax was put in place for that. The hedge doesn't exist, but the tax is still there.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Golding. Now, Dr. Clark will rebut in 45 seconds.
You know, Mark, we implemented direct to indirect taxation. And at the time, you said, or your administration or your party had said it could not be done. We got it done. They were wrong on that. They also said it would lead to an increase in poverty. Poverty has declined by 40% to the lowest level in 10 years. They were wrong on that. By moving from direct to indirect, what we've been able to do is increase the economic efficiency in the country because indirect taxes are more difficult to escape. That has allowed for revenues to exceed budget for every year of the last 4 years, which has not happened in the last 25 years except for one. And it's allowed for us to increase capital expenditure by 250%, increasing quality of public services.
Thank you very much, then, Dr. Clark. Kalila Reynolds has a follow-up question to Mark Golding of the PNP.
So, Mr. Golding, does your party intend to continue with the policy of direct to indirect taxation?
We believe that there is a role for both direct and indirect taxation. We believe in a balanced approach to taxation. As I said, we think that equity is critical in taxation, and those who can afford should pay. So we don't believe that there should be an abolition of all direct taxes by any means. We were the ones who introduced indirect taxation to strengthen the tax base in the 1990s after the first tax reform process. So we believe in a balanced approach to taxation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Golding. Now we go to Marjorie Gordon with a question from social media.
Thanks, Damien. So on social media, particularly Facebook, they're asking, if you become the next finance minister, what actions will be taken to regulate banking fees?
That question is for you, Mr. Golding.
Yes, thank you. Nigel talked about reducing poverty by 40%. Under the last PNP administration, poverty, which we inherited at over 24%, we were bringing it down steadily. The JLP came into office, poverty was at 17%, coming down from 24%. It went back up after the tax measures that he introduced, and it went to 19%. In 2018, there was a good year in the sense that agricultural weather situation was improved, and all of the road projects were rolled out at the same time, and we've seen some reduction in poverty. Of course, 2019, growth disappeared, went down to 0 by the end of 2019. That had nothing to do with COVID whatsoever. And we don't know what the poverty numbers are because those have not been published. In terms of banking fees, it is inequitable the way the banking system works right now, because there's no basic package of measures that allow customers of banks to enjoy some freedom from being charged fees on every single thing they do. It is not fair. Fitz-Jackson introduced legislation to achieve a package of basic services for which fees would not be levied. The JLP MPs blocked it. We intend to revive that legislation and to pass it into law so that customers are protected from excessive bank fee charges.
Thank you very much, Mr. Golding. Dr. Clark, you have 90 seconds for a response.
Poverty fell from 21% to 12.6% under our administration. And it is likely that by the time the measurement is done, it will have fallen even further under this administration. With respect to banking fees, the People's National Party, the PNP, introduced a bill in Parliament that amounts to price fixing of banking fees in a market economy that they say they are committed to. Now, this is a problem I identify with, and I understand some of the frustration that many members of the public feel, including those who are on small incomes. But the problem with the PNP is that they introduce measures that end up working against the very people they're trying to serve. With price fixing, it would lead to disinvestment, people pulling up or not investing as much as they would otherwise, and we, the Jamaican people, you, the Jamaican people, would suffer. What we propose to do is to introduce consumer protection in financial services with a new and separate bill that would mandate that financial institutions disclose all charges, all fees, all interest rates, and how those interest rates are going to be calculated. There would be an avenue for complaints. So you, I didn't get your name on Facebook, but so you could complain to that authority, and the authority could levy sanctions, including restitution and fines. That's our plan.
Thank you very much, Dr. Clark. We'll now go to a short break and invite you to stay tuned. Welcome back to the second in a series of 3 political debates being facilitated by the Jamaica Debates Commission, a partnership of the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce and Media Association Jamaica. If you're just joining us, welcome. We invite Dashan Hendricks to start this segment with a question for Dr. Nigel Clark.
Dr. Clark, in your party's 2016 manifesto, pages 12 to 14, the JLP promised at least 200,000 jobs in its administration. But do you believe the administration failed in delivering that promise, given that it only delivered half the amount?
Thank you, Dashan. The Jamaica Labour Party has presided over the largest growth in employment over any 4-year period in at least 20 years. 100,000 jobs have been created. Of that number, 33,000 have been created in real estate, business services, and renting, most of which is in the BPO industry. 24,000 jobs were created in tourism. 21,000 jobs were created in construction, and 14,000 jobs were created in retail. By any objective measure, this is a great achievement for the people of Jamaica and the government of Jamaica, given our historic experience of chronically high unemployment. When someone gets a job, it provides dignity, it provides self-worth. And the fabric of our society, the social fabric of our society, is strengthened the more persons who are employed. Our work is not yet finished. We have a lot more to do, and we will be investing in education and training to ensure that the jobs of tomorrow will deliver even more value than the jobs of today. But make no mistake about it, the Jamaica Labour Party has taken job creation seriously, and we have delivered for the Jamaican people.
Thank you very much, Dr. Clark. Now, Mr. Mark Golding of the PNP will rebut in 45 seconds.
The People's National Party, in its 18 years in office, brought poverty and unemployment down to single-digit levels. Poverty that had been inherited at over 30% was brought down to under 10%, 9%. Unemployment was also brought down to below 10% to 9%. Since then, the poverty rates have never been as low as they were then, and they still aren't. And indeed, now that we're in a COVID crisis, we can imagine that the situation is going to be, when it's measured, much, much worse. Truth is that the promise as to the creation of jobs was not kept. And the situation now is very dire because hundreds of thousands of Jamaicans have been laid off.
Thank you very much, Mr. Golding. Now, Kalila Reynolds of Nationwide News Network has a question for you, Mr. Golding of the PNP.
Since the pandemic has impacted our biggest foreign exchange earner, tourism, so badly, what will your party do to ensure the economy is less reliant on tourism?
The COVID pandemic has exposed that structural weakness in our economy, where we're so dependent on one particular industry for foreign exchange earnings. We have to find a way of expanding and growing other areas of the economy that can supplement the lost foreign exchange in tourism. We do not know how quickly tourism will recover, because tourism is dependent not on us, but on what is happening in the markets which we serve. And those markets are going through a serious crisis still from a public health and economic point of view. Agriculture, food security is an area where we feel there's considerable opportunity for growth. Jamaica has competitive advantage in a number of crops: cocoa, coffee, ginger, cannabis, and others. We can grow and serve not only our people in terms of food security, but the region. That is an area where we feel more attention and more focus needs to be brought. We also feel that the logistics, the global logistics area, is an opportunity as well. With the increased use of online shopping and so on, warehousing space is going to be more important. The movement of goods through the supply chains around the world, Jamaica is well positioned economically and geographically to take advantage of that. We were the ones who passed the Special Economic Zones legislation. This government has failed to implement it properly. We will do so.
Thank you very much, Mr. Golding. Now, Dr. Nigel Clark of the JLP will rebut in 45 seconds.
Diversifying our economy is one of the main planks of our 10-point recovery plan. Recovery will require tourism to recover, but we want it to recover stronger and better with community-based tourism, with a people-centered tourism, where more Jamaicans benefit from the tourism dollar and the tourism products. We will also diversify into coding and animation, into logistics and fulfillment. We're at far advanced in the Cayman Special Economic Zone Development Project, which will attract billions of dollars of investment and lead to greater employment and diversifying of our sources of income. We are focused on this as an objective, and the supply chain, the domestic supply chain, we will be strengthening, ensuring that more SMEs can participate.
Thank you, Dr. Clark. Now to Marjorie Gordon with a question from social media.
Okay, Nicole Watts on social media wants to find out that following the COVID-19 experience, if you form the next government, what will be done immediately to ensure that those in the informal economy can become a part of the formal economy so they can benefit from some of so that they can benefit from what the government has to offer to help them in the crisis.
Dr. Clark, that question is for you with 90 seconds to respond.
The Jamaica Labour Party administration believes in creating a more inclusive society. And we are not satisfied. We are not satisfied that for so long, so many have been excluded. Our plans are to lead policy implementation that will result in greater formalization. Many persons in the informal economy are excluded from participation in the National Insurance Service scheme and excluded from the NHT. That comes at a cost to them, and it leads to great inequality in our society. It's a structural inequality that we are determined to address. Our plans revolve around simplification of the tax procedures, simplifying statutory deductions, amalgamating deductions into one deduction, and applying technology, bringing efficiencies to bear so that it's easier to be a part of the formal system. It's easier to participate because Jamaica is at its best when all of us are participating. We believe the informal economy contributes a lot to our society, and the contribution would be even greater if members of the informal economy participate in the formal structures, allowing for social security to be expanded to all Jamaicans, and that is our objective.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Clark. Now, Mr. Mark Golding of the PNP will respond in 90 seconds.
In terms of creating an incentive for people to join the formal economy, first of all, we have to increase digital access. And our plans for expanding internet access across communities in Jamaica through rolling out hotspots in community centers and police stations will achieve that. In terms of financial inclusion, we need to rationalize some of the rules around Know Your Customer and the requirements, the difficult hurdles for people to open bank accounts for relatively small balances so that we can simplify those procedures and make it easier. The elimination of some of the fees that people are charged through legislation that Nigel has called it price fixing, well, I call it consumer protection, to ensure that the consumer can access banking services with a reasonable range of services for which they're not charged excessive fees. This will also help financial inclusion. These are very important measures because if we're going to modernize the economy, we have to create incentives that don't keep people out of the system but bring them into the system. This government has been very shoddy at the doing business, improving our ease of doing business rankings. We introduced, for example, a super form where when you form a company or you register a business, you get all your tax numbers at one time. We increased the ranking, improved the ranking by 40 points or thereabouts under our watch. It has slipped under the Jamaica Labour Party government.
Thank you very much, Mr. Golding. Now to Dashan Hendricks of Television Jamaica for a question to Mr. Mark Golding of the PNP.
Mr. Golding, in your party's rent-to-own program for housing, 130,000 homes have been promised in 5 years, which is about 26,000 per year, which is roughly equivalent to building a new Greater Portmore each year. What measures will be put in place if your party is elected and the houses are built to ensure persons continue to pay for the property and we don't end up having what happened in recent years when houses were built for people and they refused to pay for them?
The 130,000 housing units over 5 years is an aggressive and ambitious target. I accept that. But we feel that it is important to create affordable housing for our people. And it is important to set targets that do require diligence and a great deal of attention and effort to reach them. The rent-to-own concept would allow persons who are not currently in formal employment and find it difficult to prove income to access a home by renting, and that a portion of their rental would go towards their down payment, so that when they have rented it for a relatively short space of time, the portion of the rent that goes to the down payment is then converted to a mortgage and gives them access to the home. In order to do this, we would have to use the National Housing Trust aggressively as a vehicle, but also mobilize pension funds and the capital markets to raise the capital, working in partnership with developers and the National Housing Trust to roll out this volume of housing. We feel that it is important that our teachers, our security guards, our farmers, our nurses, our entertainment practitioners, and so on, have a new way of accessing home ownership, because for many people, it is a pipe dream. The rent-to-own scheme is an innovation that seeks to make it more accessible for our people to own their own home.
Thank you very much, Mr. Golding. Now, Dr. Clark, your rebuttal in 45 seconds.
If you hire somebody to clean a room, and when you come back, they've only cleaned a corner of the room, and you pay them anyway, and they have the audacity to come back and say, hire me to clean the whole house, what would you say to them? You would run them. In the Bible, Jesus said, those who are faithful in small things will be faithful in big things. The fact of the matter is, the PNP were not faithful with the delivery of houses in their last 4 years. They only did 8,000. We have done 20,000, 2.5 times. They have no credibility whatsoever. Hashtag no credibility on that issue.
Thank you very much, Dr. Clark. Now, Kalila Reynolds of Nationwide News Network has a question for you, Dr. Clark, of the JLP.
Dr. Clark, what happened to 5 and 4?
Thank you for that question, Kalila. What is the purpose of economic growth? One of the purposes of economic growth is to increase employment. Under the Jamaica Labour Party, employment has increased by 100,000, and unemployment fell to the lowest levels in history. We achieved that. Another purpose of economic growth is to reduce poverty. Under the Jamaica Labour Party administration, poverty fell by 40% to the lowest levels in 10 years. We achieved that purpose. Another purpose of economic growth is to increase tax revenues so that public services can be expanded and improved for your benefit. Under the Jamaica Labour Party, tax revenues increased by 40% over 4 years, which allowed us to increase capital expenditure by 250%, delivering higher quality of public services for you, investing in security, health, investing in infrastructure, and in education and other forms of capital expenditure. Growth is a means to an end. We have achieved the ends for which our targets have been set. Do we want to grow at a higher rate? Of course we do, and of course we will. But it is undoubtedly the case that we have achieved the ends to which our growth targets have been set. Reduction of poverty,
thank you very much,
reduction
Dr.
of employment,
Clark.
and increase
And now,
in revenues.
Thank you very much, Dr. Clark. And now, Mr. Mark Golding of the PNP, you have 45 seconds to rebut.
Growth is important. Growth is what generates additional revenues that allows the government to do more for its people. The 5 in 4 promise was a central promise of this administration. It has been a colossal failure. In 2019, growth fell every quarter to 0, ending the period of consecutive quarterly growth that had commenced under the People's National Party government. This government has no credibility to discuss the issue of growth. They have been a colossal failure when it comes to growth. Nigel is trying to make excuses for not achieving growth, but it remains a blot on the record of this government.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Golding. We'll now take a short break and invite you to stay tuned. Welcome back to the second in a series of 3 political debates being facilitated by the Jamaica Debates Commission, a partnership of the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce and Media Association Jamaica. If you're just joining us, welcome. The debaters will now be allowed to ask their opponent one question of their choosing within 30 seconds, to which they are both obliged to give an answer within 90 seconds. The answer given in this case can be rebutted, but in no longer than 45 seconds. In keeping with the result of the coin toss, the PNP's Mark Golding will go first with his question for the JLP's Dr. Nigel Clark.
Nigel, I hear you keep talking about trust and who can be trusted and who can't be trusted. Your government is the government that promised to double the minimum wage and hasn't doubled it. Your government is the government that delivered the corruption scandals in abundance. Petrojam, Nessal, CMU, used car scandal, firearm licensing authority scandal, scandal after scandal. How can you dare to even raise the issue of trust with me? Our leader, Dr. Peter Phillips, has never been implicated in any funniness and doesn't surround himself with people who are involved in shenanigans. You have no credibility to discuss the issue of trust.
The people of Jamaica have, in poll after poll after poll, answered that question. And they have said emphatically that they trust Prime Minister Andrew Holness to lead Jamaica and lead Jamaica into a strong recovery. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has acted decisively when instances of corruption have arisen, unlike what the PNP has done in the 22 years that we can observe. In most of the instances that are comparable, they waffled, they waited, public pressure had to build, and at the end, the consequences did not arise to the consequences that have arisen under Prime Minister Andrew Holness. We absolutely have credibility on that, and the people of Jamaica have said that they trust Prime Minister Andrew Holness. In addition to that, we have delivered for the people of Jamaica. We reduced GCT. We abolished many taxes, the minimum business tax, we abolished the asset tax, we abolished ad valorem stamp duty, reduced the transfer tax to make land investment easier for Jamaicans. We raised the threshold on PAYE, bringing more Jamaicans or taking more Jamaicans out of personal income tax liability. We increased spending on social programs, 3 days to 5 days for school lunches. The people trust us because we are operating both on the economic side and on the social side.
Clark. Now we'll ask Mr. Mark Goulding to rebut.
Nigel has spoken about polls, but the reality is that the government of Andrew Holness is the most corrupt government in the history of Jamaica. Cabinet ministers, junior ministers have had to be either relieved of their posts or moved into other areas. The OPM has become like a holding cell for corrupt politicians who have disappointed the aspirations of the people. It was the PNP government that developed MOCA, the major organized crime agency to fight corruption. It was the PNP government that conceptualized and brought legislation to establish an integrity commission with prosecutorial powers. Our record on this issue stands for itself.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Goulding. Now to the JLP's Dr. Nigel Clark with his question for the PNP's Mr. Mark Goulding.
Mark, when you look at your economic record, when you look at the fact that the exchange rate under you in your 4 years declined by 10% a year, and you compare it with us, where it declined by 3% a year pre-COVID, and even now, it represents 5% a year. Under you and your 18 years, the exchange rate declined by 60% every single year. I invite every young person to go and Google it. And 1,000% over 18 years. Under your last 4 years, growth averaged 0.4%. Under ours, pre-COVID, it averaged 1%. 2.5 times the size. We want it to be more. You have a record of making promises. You promised houses, you delivered only 8,000. What credibility do you have whatsoever on these issues with the Jamaican people? And will you tell us whether or not that manifesto had your approval?
In terms of housing, the People's National Party has delivered more housing for Jamaicans than the Jamaica Labour Party. We built the Greater Portmore scheme. We built housing schemes in Harbour View. We built housing schemes in Mona. We built housing schemes indeed in Arnett Gardens and many other areas. So in terms of housing, our record stands for itself. In the last PNP administration, we were focusing on turning the economy around. It had hit the rocks under the Jamaica Labour Party. The IMF agreement that you took us into, you defaulted on. We had to renegotiate the IMF agreement. We had to deliver on all of the commitments in it, which we did, and we established a platform for economic growth and development after those 4 years, for which we've been internationally and locally recognized. So in terms of the credibility of our economic plans, they stand for themselves. In the 18 years that we were in office, Jamaica's infrastructure was built up. North Coast Highway Project, Highway 2000. In terms of ports, we developed the Port of Kingston, took it to another level. In terms of the airports, we built out Donald Sangster, it became an international hub. In terms of social development and social legislation, we established a national health fund, the Drugs for the Elderly program, the PATH program, and so many more things. So we have a record.
Thank you very much, Mr.
We are
Golding.
proud
now,
of, and
Dr.
we can
Nigel
defend.
Clark. Thank you, Mr. Golding. Now, Dr. Nigel Clark will have a chance to rebut.
I'm happy for this opportunity to clarify and to set the record straight. It was the Jamaica Labour Party that first acted decisively on Jamaica's debt with the Jamaica Debt Exchange under Bruce Golding and Audley Shaw. It was the Jamaica Labour Party that introduced the fiscal responsibility framework under the 2010 agreement. It was the Jamaica Labour Party that pivoted Jamaica away from high-cost capital market debt and towards low-cost multilateral debt. When the PNP said it couldn't be done, the JLP got it done. It is the Jamaica Labour Party that, after 20 years of talking about Port Royal and cruise, that brought a cruise ship to Port Royal. The Jamaica Labour Party that privatized NMIA when Norman Manley International Airport, when they tried and they failed. The Jamaica Labour Party gets things done.
Thank you very much, Dr.
They
Clark.
talk with empty promises.
And now we will go to the closing statements. Based on the earlier coin toss decision, Mark Golding of the PNP will go first.
Jamaica, the truth is that what has gone on before is all well and good. But what we are facing now is the deepest crisis the country has ever been in. This government has allowed the public health situation to get out of hand. The COVID crisis is testing us beyond anything that we've been tested before. The reopening of the borders and the loosening of the rules over independence has resulted in an explosion of cases. The economy is reeling. We had negative growth in the first quarter of 2.3%. In the second quarter, the Bank of Jamaica and PIOJ are now telling us that they estimate that the economy contracted by 14 to 17%. It is going to take astute, careful management with integrity and diligence and a commitment to the people of Jamaica to turn this country around. The last time we were in a crisis was in 2011. The Jamaica Labour Party had brought us into that crisis. They had entered into an IMF agreement and they reneged on all of the commitments under it. No further credit was being extended to the government. There was a massive crisis in West Kingston in which tens of scores of people lost their lives trying to fight the extradition of one particular drug lord. In 2011, the people of Jamaica turned to the People's National Party because they knew that we would deliver what needed to be done to save the country. In this last government that we're in now, they inherited a situation where the situation had been righted. The revenue reforms were substantial. Public revenues are up. The people need the People's National Party again.
Thank you
to
so
face
very much,
the crisis
Mr. Golding.
we have now.
Thank you, Mr. Golding. And now we invite Dr. Nigel Clark of the JLP. Please go ahead with your closing statement of tonight's debate.
My fellow Jamaicans, Jamaica faces the worst global crisis of our lifetimes. Thankfully, this administration was prepared. We acted quickly and decisively. We protected lives and livelihoods, and we provided over 440,000 Jamaicans with direct cash grants. On September 3, Jamaica faces a choice. Do we return to the dark and uncertain days of high taxes and high unemployment? Or do we continue to build a new Jamaica of low taxes, low unemployment, low poverty, low interest rates, low inflation, where we have more houses, build more roads, have more opportunity, more technology, where we have a government that listens to the people, that responds to the people, and that works with the people to get things done rather than make empty promises. We have a detailed and creative and carefully thought out plan that we can work together to recover stronger. And I want to speak to every Jamaican tonight, wherever you are and wherever you're situated, that we are here because we care for you. And we have demonstrated that we care with our actions. We humbly invite you to work with us to build Jamaica and to recover stronger. We humbly seek your support, and we ask that on September 3, you put your X beside the bell as we work together to build a strong Jamaica. Thank you, and good night.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Clark. Well, that concludes our first debate between Mark Golding, representing the People's National Party, and Dr. Nigel Clark, representing the Jamaica Labour Party. Join us again this Saturday, August 29 at 9 p.m. for the final debate in the 2020 General Election Debate Series organized by the Jamaica Debates Commission, a partnership of the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce and Media Association Jamaica. The final debate focuses on leadership and features Dr. Peter Phillips of the PNP and Andrew Holness of the JLP. Thanks for joining us. Thanks to our production crew, our production and funding partners, and most of all, our viewers and listeners all across Jamaica and the diaspora. On behalf of the Jamaica Debates Commission, we are asking you to observe all the health and safety guidelines from the Ministry of Health, not just on Election Day, but every day. I'm Damian Mitchell. Good evening.
UWI 5 Islands campus, Professor Rosalie Hamilton, founding director of the Institute of Law and Economics, Dr. Damien King, Executive Director of Caribbean Policy Research Institute, Capri. He's also Senior Lecturer in Economics at UWI Mona. And Jermaine Spencer, Political Economist. Back with you, lady and gentlemen. Jermaine, shall I begin with you? Your overall views and impressions of this debate. Well, let me make sure I'm hearing you. I'm not hearing you at the moment. Unmute yourself. Right.
Yeah,
go right ahead.
All right. Well, the debate itself was actually quite heavy on details and on facts. The extent to which those facts may be true will be means tested, I guess, in the coming days. I don't think we have the time right now to be fact-checking anybody about it, nor is it necessarily important. What I, however, think is that what was good about this debate is that we actually saw two very different pathways from the two ministers, or the two proposed ministers of finance, about where they view the economy going and what are the important tasks for the economy. On Dr. Clark's side, it seems to be a lot of reforming government, reforming the business of government, bringing a certain efficiency to the public service and better delivery of services by the public sector. On the People's National Party side, there is more of a focus of a delivery of social benefits and social care to the population, which people will find more important when it comes time to vote. That we'll find out on the 3rd of September.
Let me hear your thoughts, Professor Denzel Williams.
Yeah, thank you. My initial thoughts, I think it's a heavyweight match that really didn't live up to its expectation.
It flopped. Or somebody flopped. Somebody flopped.
Mrs. Shields, I didn't say that. Anyways, I think it's one of those matches that didn't live up to the expectation. The truth is that I think both speakers, Nigel came out swinging in terms of style. You would give him an A for his style and his confidence. But when it got into the debate, Mark, in terms of his responses and content, was actually very strong. He responded directly to most of the questions.
Really? To which questions he responded directly to from your... You have it there?
Yes, for example, when they asked about the costing of his projects and stuff, he was able to tell you that it's $71 billion. He was able to tell you that this is $56 billion from the consolidated fund and $50 billion from other bodies. He was able to tell you about the jobs. When they talked about the jobs, he said there was jobs in construction, etc. So in terms of those kinds of things, when Nigel was asked about funding, for example, I found that he was a little bit wobbly in terms of exactly how you would fund the manifesto that they put forward. So in terms of content, I still think Mark had some strong content there going for him. But Nigel was very clear. He was very energetic. He was high in confidence, and he was also very clear in his delivery in terms of these things. So overall, as I said, Jermaine talked about the directionality that the different things we're going to. I didn't see that difference, to be fair, because Nigel outlined at the outset a set of things that are priorities for them. And interestingly, those are the same things that are priorities for Mark as well. He talked about land, he talked about housing, he talked about education, and those are the exact same things Mark spoke about. They may be different in terms of degree and quantum as to how you're going to do them, but the exact things that Nigel spoke about are the exact things that are the priorities for Mark as well.
Professor Hamilton?
I would say disappointing. For me, the most telling part of the conversation was the growth discussion.
The 5 and 4?
Well, there was no mention of 5 and 4 until the question was posed.
Yes.
And I think Minister's response was very instructive. We achieved what we wanted for growth, jobs, poverty, more taxes, suggesting that there is no need for growth. There's no need to change the structured economy that has, created what we've created. That's what is implied. So I was very disappointed in that. There was absolutely no mention of the cultural and creative industries. Now, I suspect that members of that industry tonight must be holding their heads down low. We have seen the use of dubs, the creativity of our people in these campaigns, both sides. And there's a lot of talk about hypocrisy. It was evident tonight because nowhere did we hear how we're going to strengthen these economic actors to go in the global market with their creativity, to create foreign exchange that we absolutely need, and to be able to help us to deal with this crisis. No mention of the diaspora until a question was posed. No opportunity to talk about the fact that during the March to June of this year, in the throes of a COVID crisis, remittances went up by 5.5%. No mention of that. No clear strategy about how we harness the diaspora to get into these global markets. And I think importantly, we were kind of oblivious of the global context that's taking place. This is the markets we have to go into, where race is now an issue. We have seen what is happening in the US with the Black Lives Matter. No conversation about our own decolonization process. You know what's interesting?
In this discussion, you expected that in this discussion?
Yes, because because we're in a crisis.
That's for the leadership debate, probably for the leadership. This is a debate on the economy and finance. Why would we be talking about Black Lives Matter and
global
decolonization?
Context, let me tell you why. We have to get into new markets. The fastest growing markets prior to COVID were African countries. You can do a quick search on that. Wikipedia has identified at least 3 of them, all African countries. Now, if you talk to the average Jamaican about Africa, they've cringed. That's part of the power of the decolonization process and the decolonization of our education system. This is unfinished business. I believe in this crisis, if we really want to come back stronger and better, we have to tackle these issues.
All right, we're going to line up the 5 and 4 question, but let me come to Dr. Damian King for his overall assessment of this debate.
Well, this was a giant failure and a disappointment. And in that, I'm in agreement with the other panelists. And there's a reason why it was such a failure, that it is very difficult to distinguish between these two parties. They both agree largely on the role of the state. They both agree on fiscal responsibility. They both believe in infrastructure. They both want a digital future. They are both actually quite focused on fairly constructive ways of dealing with the problem of poverty and informality. So the debate descended into, little scraps about relatively unimportant and not key parts of the platform. How many houses we're going to build and who we're going to give them to. And so it was not as clarifying and as informative and as constructive as we might have hoped.
Right. Let me go to that 5 in 4 question, because let's go to it and hear your impressions of how Nigel Clarke's interesting turn of the answer and your thought. Let me go to it.
Dr. Clarke, what happened to 5 in 4?
Thank you for that question, Kalila. What is the purpose of economic growth? One of the purposes of economic growth is to increase employment. Under the Jamaica Labour Party, employment has increased by 100,000, and unemployment fell to the lowest levels in history. We achieved that. Another purpose of economic growth is to reduce poverty. Under the Jamaica Labour Party administration, poverty fell by 40% to the lowest levels in 10 years. We achieved that purpose. Another purpose of economic growth is to increase tax revenues so that public services can be expanded and improved for your benefit. Under the Jamaica Labour Party, tax revenues increased by 40% over 4 years, which allowed us to increase capital expenditure by 250%, delivering higher quality of public services for you, investing in security, health, investing in infrastructure, and in education and other forms of capital expenditure. Growth is a means to an end. We have achieved the ends for which our targets have been set. Do we want to grow at a higher rate? Of course we do, and of course we will. But it is undoubtedly the case that we have achieved the ends to which our growth targets have been set. Reduction of poverty,
Thank you very much,
reduction of
Dr.
employment,
Clarke.
and increase in revenues.
Thank you.
Thank you. Listen, I think that was an absolutely brilliant answer. Absolutely brilliant answer for me. What are your thoughts on that answer? Growth is a means to an end. When we come back from the break, we will take that. So we didn't get the 5 in 4, but we got all of these things. When we come back, more on the post-debate analysis. Debate analysis. Let me come straight back to my panelists. Dr. Damian King, I want to hear your thoughts on that 5 in 4 question that I thought was a brilliant answer.
Well, it was a really good answer in that he identified the objectives of economic growth and pointed out that many of those objectives were in fact achieved quite impressively, despite the headline GDP number not reflecting what they are.
Yeah. Professor Hamilton, and then I want all of you to tell me who in your view won the debate and give me your score before we end this segment. Your response to the 5 in 4, because you seem not to have liked it at all, Professor Hamilton.
No, I mean, I think from there's some, let me say this, there is a long history. I mean, we're talking about from 1997 or therearound, we have no more than 0.5% growth. I think all analysts understand the importance of growing the economy and creating new opportunities. The reason I'm disappointed is because it implies you don't need to grow the economy.
No, I didn't get that implication. I don't know how you got that implication. I don't know how you got that implication.
Because if the focus is on we've achieved these outcomes, then there's no sweat. If we don't grow, no problem, as long as we get to these outcomes. But I think it ignores the structure of the economy that we have, in which a few are benefiting from this growth and the vast majority are coping. Well, that's just the reality.
What I heard him say,
to bring new people into the economy.
Yes, okay. Let me come to all of you. I want to hear who won the debate in your view before we run out of time. Professor Denzel Williams.
Yeah, I don't want to get into an issue of who won or who lost. I would rather to focus a little bit about, especially the question you just asked about the 5 in 4. I agree with Dr. Clarke that the outcomes have been met, but the question that Professor Hamilton is raising is a serious one, which is, what are the structural issues that have prevented us from getting to 5 and 4? And that is what the minister should have really come to us and also tell us, because it is true that you get those outcomes, but any other government will also get those outcomes if they do the management the way that they're doing it. And as Dr. King had said earlier, we have these fiscal rules and all of these things, so we have these parameters within which to work. So these outcomes are not kind of surprising. The issue is more people need to be brought into the economy. And if you have these structural issues that have prevented you from achieving 5 and 4, they need to be brought forward to the center so that we have an understanding of these kinds of things. Yes?
Right.
So I would rather focus on the content of the things, Emily.
Yes, so I still want to hear from you, though, you having said that. Who won this debate for you?
As I said before, I don't want to shy away from who win, who lost, but if I were to say score this debate in an academic setting, I would think it's a draw in my estimation.
It's a draw?
Yeah, because one is stronger on content, one is stronger on style. And as we said, there is no clear difference between both parties in terms of what they're trying to do, etc. So in that case, for me, Dr. Clark clearly was an A student on style and confidence and stuff. But as I said, when it comes to responding directly to the question, the content, etc., he would have fell down there for me.
Jermaine Spencer, who won the debate?
Okay. All right, I think you're asking two questions. The first question is about the 5 and 4.
Well, I'm done with the 5 and 4.
Oh, you're done with that? Okay. Fine.
Yes. Who
won the debate? I leave that to the UE Debating Society. They actually do sit down.
No, man, I want to hear you. I want to hear your thoughts.
I'm also a member of the UE Debating Society, so I'm going to leave it to my colleagues to do just that.
What is this?
It's one of those things where if you say one person won, then they color you one or the other way. And to be honest with you, I don't. To be honest with you, I don't view these things in the who win, who lose situation.
Okay.
What I view it is that looking at the context and the content of what is it that I wanted to hear. Did I hear it or did I not hear it?
Yes.
Not a matter of who won or who lost.
So what you wanted to hear, did you hear it or didn't you hear it?
There are things that I did hear. Certainly, for example, the question about the $100 billion that has been floating around, which Mr. Clark did say seems to be a disaster. However, I did some back of the envelope calculation and realized that 100 billion Jamaican dollars, we're talking about a little bit less than 1% of GDP. So if we're talking about a little bit less than 1% of GDP to actually give benefits to ordinary people, I am not certain why that should be classified as a crash of the economy. So that's something that I'm a little bit questioning. In addition to which, even if the economy is declining, as what is being stated right now, even if the economy is declining, it's not declining to a level lower than 2016. And if we could afford 1.5 per, the 1.5 plan in 2016, why can't we afford a couple $1,000s per month to ordinary Jamaicans so that they can pay basic utility, given what is happening in COVID? So I heard Mark's answer to that, which is why I have to agree with Dr. Douglas in saying that on content, even though Mark nearly put me to bed, on content, he was actually great. But so those were some questions and some answers.
Not Douglas, yeah? I think
not Douglas, not Denzel Douglas. Denzel Williams.
Yes.
I just need somebody to tell me who won the debate, because I think the winner was so clear. One person, in my view, mauled the other person, and I don't understand why my panelists can't say clearly who they think won the debate. Professor Hamilton, who won the debate?
Because if you are focusing on the performance and the clarity and the capacity to communicate, yes, I think it's very clear. I think the public saw it. We all saw it. But
so
we must,
what did the public see?
I think it's important. But we have to go beyond the rhetoric and the style. We do have to look at substance. And it is troubling that a minister is not able to account to the nation about why we have not achieved the 5.4. There was the 5 and 4. There was so much focus on that. And it speaks to not a problem. I quickly say it's not a problem for the JLP. It's a long-term structural problem that successive governments have not solved. We have to tackle it. It is a crisis. And I didn't see that sense of urgency. And what I heard is more of the same. And in that context, I would say, with respect to substance and content, I think it was a draw.
Dr. Damian King, who won the debate?
No, I'm not going to tell you who won the debate because I think people can judge that for themselves. But I think what is important, and it's not a disappointment because we didn't expect better, that they have come with manifestos and with claims to spend a whole lot of money. Let me put it in perspective for you. So far, dealing with COVID has cost the government over $80 billion. In other words, in a massive crisis that collapsed the economy and required urgent spending, we had to find $80 billion. Now, the People's National Party manifesto, Mark himself has costed that $70 billion, costed equivalent to the biggest economic crisis the country has faced, and says that, we can find it in the consolidated fund. That's not a source. That's the saving. That's the bank account. So that was a disappointment. Dr. Clark didn't even know the amount, much less where it was going to come from.
Right.
For his package.
All of those promises cannot be held with any credibility if none of them can tell you where the additional money is going to come from in the midst of massive COVID pandemic-induced fiscal deficit.
Let me go to a break. Stay with us. Final segment coming up. Your thoughts. Send me your tweets at Emily M. Shields. Thank you, viewers at home. We're back with you about 5 minutes to go before the end of this program. I'm Emily Shields. Let's just go to the closing arguments for these individuals. I will tell you that come tomorrow on the hotline, I will tell you who I believe won this debate. In fact, as I said, I think somebody was mauled tonight in this debate, and I will give you my reasons why, because you name a winner coming out of a debate. But let's go to the close. We don't have the closing just now. So let me ask all of you then, since none of you wants to say who won, do you think the performance tonight will make any difference in the minds of the electorate who are confined to homes, perhaps like never before, and trying to make up their minds about who to vote for in this election? Jermaine Spencer.
No. That's a quick answer. I don't even know if people lasted it through the debate in actuality. But if I may, there's one thing that I wanted to just interact with Dr. King with a bit, if that's okay with you. I just wonder to some extent if this debate really isn't sort of the opportunity cost debate as opposed to the accounting debate. Because in one sense, if you look at the current COVID scenario, when you look at, say, persons who were up just above the poverty line, and when COVID hit, they lost their jobs and then fell below the poverty line, and you had to find the money so that you could give them a concessionary grant. We are now faced with a situation with persons having to stay at home. What is the opportunity cost of not giving those persons some form of grant so that they can actually pay for basic utilities? That's on one side. On the other side, where the government is concerned, what is the opportunity cost of not continuing with the current path, the progress path in terms of service delivery, reforming the public sector? So in a way, part of the reason I stepped away from the accounting exercise, which is what you seem to be saying that they have not costed, is because I said, well, you know what? We're at a point where you're kind of like in a war where you need 10 dreadnoughts, but you only can afford 5, but you need 10, so you figure out how you're going to get the other 5. So that's my question. I'm just wondering.
What's the question you want, Dr. King?
I want to find out if this.
What's the question? You're behaving like Mark Golding at the end as well as Nigel Clark. A question was to be asked, but the question did not really come.
Forgive me. So the question really is: should we view this debate more as the opportunity cost debate of particular manifestos, or really should we just be going through an accounting exercise?
No, to say how you're going to pay for something is not an accounting exercise. It is to say how you're going to pay for it. But you raise an interesting point that I want to make very quickly. In the very beginning, 5 months ago, the imperative was for us to get money to the neediest and the worst and try to just get the economy to have less of a dip, less of a crash than it otherwise would. 5 months later, it's a completely different objective. This is not a crash and a quick 3-month or a 6-month recovery. What we now realize is that the structure of the economy has to change to reflect the fact that COVID is going to be with us and the legacy of COVID for years to come. So now the question is, how do we make the economy and the economy's resources flexible enough so those people who have been thrown out of work and who are going to be out of work for a long time can quickly find new things to do? Does the economy have the flexibility, and have any of these two parties addressed that structural problem?
All right.
Absolutely.
Wait, can we just zone in quickly on the closing statements and whether any point that was not made in the debate was made in these closing statements? Let's just throw to them quickly.
My fellow Jamaicans, Jamaica faces the worst global crisis of our lifetimes. Thankfully, this administration was prepared. We acted quickly and decisively. We protected lives and livelihoods, and we provided over 440,000 Jamaicans with direct cash grants. On September 3, Jamaica faces a choice. Do we return to the dark and uncertain days of high taxes and high unemployment? Or do we continue to build a new Jamaica of low taxes, low unemployment, low poverty, low interest rates, low inflation, where we have more houses, build more roads, have...
What has gone on before is all well and good. But what we are facing now is the deepest crisis the country has ever been in. This government has allowed the public health situation to get out of hand. The COVID crisis is testing us beyond anything that we've been tested before. The reopening of the borders and the loosening of the rules over independence has resulted in an explosion of cases. The economy is reeling. We had negative growth in the first quarter of 2.3%. In the second quarter, the Bank of Jamaica and PIOJ are now telling us that they estimate that the economy contracted by 14 to 17%.
Yeah. Anything to love there? If you didn't get it in the debate, did the closing do anything at all for you, Professor Denzel Williams, as we wrap?
No, it didn't do much at all to me. But I wanted to make one quick point on the issue that Damien was talking about as well, in terms of how you fund these things, etc. It is true that the consolidated fund is there and the source is there. But what I heard from Mark was that this is what we're doing is reprioritize what is there now. I don't see anything fundamental wrong with that, Damien, because what he's trying to say is that if we had $1 and we just spend on 5 different things, and these are the priorities we think are going to stimulate the economy now, we are going to use that $1 and spend on these things. But it's not a matter of creating new expenses, really. It's a matter of reprioritizing. That, to me, is an important point about the discussion that we had as well.
Regrettably, I'm out of time, and I hope when I have the discussion on Saturday night for the big debate, I will have panelists who will want to say who the winner of a debate is. Thank you all. Have a good evening. Thank you so much, Professor Denzel Williams, Professor Rosalia Hamilton, Dr. Damien King, and Jermaine Spencer. Thank you so much to my production team. We look forward to having your company again. I have to do this blog. Join me tomorrow on the hotline for Emily's Views, because I will tell you my thoughts on who really won this debate. Have a good evening. Take care.
The national debates have started.
Let us continue with the work that the Jamaica Labour Party under Andrew Holness has been doing over the past 4.5 years.
The PNP has always been the party that has perennially taken Jamaica out of periods of adversity, and will do it again.
Which party will earn your vote to form the next government? Join Emily Shields on TVJ's pre- and post-debate show